what do you feel like the skill sets or the character traits that you have, like what contributes to really translating like contextual experience of being in it to, you've clearly transitioned that message to C-suite, but then you've also been able to like articulate something from C-suite to influence the practitioners.
Look,
you're like that bridge, right?
There is, it comes down to basics. I think, one of, I started with, my first corporate job was with Sotheby's, and I moved to London to run their European network. And the European network was incredibly fragmented. And I thought that was sort of ridiculous. I lived in Europe as a child. My mom's from Madrid. And when I actually was talking to everyone, I'm like, how are you not talking to each other? And there was an incredible opportunity to create the sums of these different companies were stronger together as a region, but they never saw that.
They were just individual franchises?
They were individual franchises. Okay. And I remember, I think it was my first trip was to Frankfurt. And when you start creating this relationship and talking to someone, excuse me, when you sit across the table from somebody and you listen to them and you actually hear what their concerns are, the problems are not as monumental as anyone is making them. The greatest thing that they're wanting is a voice to hear them.
Yeah.
And once you get past that, you come back to community. And when you actually do enough of these, then you start sort of creating this thing where people start talking to one another, right? There's a lot of like, there was at the auction house, for example, the auction house and realty never, ever collaborated with one another. And I was like, well, that's what the whole brand is.
Yeah.
So I was living in London and like nobody at the auction house would see me. And I was running the region for realty. So I literally went, there was a cafe in the auction house, and that was my office. I would come in every single day, and everyone started seeing me. And it was like, I would meet with anyone. We started meeting with like different department heads, and like started like saying, well, he's not such a bad guy. You should actually, and then another department head would sort of like, until I got to the chairman's office. And then the chairman's office that never, ever had a relationship with realty. And I created that. And it was the idea of saying, look, I'm here, I'm dedicated. I want to make a difference. I see the vision, again, stepping into that future reality. In the first year, the revenue for Europe in that region increased by 42%. We started creating these relationships with auction where I was actually coming in and giving a realty report to auction every 2 weeks. Wow. Never happened before. And then when I left Europe, it never happened since. And that was over a decade ago.
So Sotheby's auction house, like the most famous auction house that there is, had no communication or
didn't want it
affiliation really outside of the name.
Yeah.
But literally just the name.
Yeah. There was no real connection.
Wow.
Yeah, there was no real connection. And
That's
so but it comes back to community.
Yeah.
Right? Where people need to make the effort. People need to sort of understand, why didn't the auction house want to have a relationship with realtors, right? It's sort of like, do you not trust the fact that they can really be able to serve your clients at the highest level, right? So what is it that was there, and how do you break that perception?
Yeah.
So it's the same thing with anything, right? Anyone who's watching and who is a leader, whether you're a single agent, you're the CEO of your own company if you're a single agent, right? You're the C-suite.
Yeah.
Anything.
I am a mini C.
There you
I'm
go.
A mini C right now.
You are sweet. You are sweet.
If you're a team leader, you actually now have a different environment and a different community for your thing. But it all comes back to, how do you communicate and create culture on whatever micro level you do to whatever macro level you do. But that's how you actually retain, grow, and then, and it's not a numbers game, right? I mean, it is, but it's not a numbers game. What do you want to do with those numbers? Why do we want to be the largest real estate company? It's not to say that we are, it's to say that we serve the greatest number of people.
Right. And you're going to get there by helping agents become better agents.
Yep.
Right. Like when you look across the board, just from what you see at a bird's eye view, what is leadership? Like not any broker specific, but what do you see out there that like C-suites are missing when it comes to the leadership realtors need now? It's been the NAR lawsuit. It's been higher interest rates and less transactions. It's been Zillow. Like there's just some things out there right now. And if you keep looking at it, it creates almost like this monster that agents can't oversee. It's not necessarily true, but when it comes to, I know Tom from like just the Marine Corps, there are ebb and flows to where like you just need more leadership in certain moments to get your guys through a storm per se. Right.
Well,
so like, what are folks missing?
It's, I can only talk about what we can do, right? It's sort of like, and by comparison, there might be things that are lacking in other places. But I think that when you start looking at the fact that there's been a lot of noise in our industry of late, right? The lowest number of transactions that's happened in our industry in 30 years, where it's 4 million transactions at the worst height of the crisis, of the financial crisis, we had more than 4,000 transactions, 4 million transactions, excuse me. And so when you have that happening, when you have the NAR lawsuit, when you have the buyer's broker commission now coming in, now when you have this argument with clear cooperation with some of the brokerages out there, and you create all of these things and you hear a lot of noise, and you're now this realtor that's just trying to figure it out. Imagine if you were a new realtor in the last 24 or 18 months, and all you heard was this noise that kept going, right? And it's like, why did I make this decision, right?
Yeah.
And
unless you've got great leadership that give you like tasks and direction so you can keep your head down and keep focused.
But it's the thing of like when you when the buyer's broker thing came in, right? At LPT we did 50 hours, live hours of training to take people through it and sort of talk about what does it actually mean. People were saying buyer's broker commissions are going away, right? And it was like it was on CNN, and it must be true, right?
Yep.
And so people were like, "Oh my God, I'm only a buyer's broker's agent. What do I do? I'm out of work." No, it was a decoupling of commissions. And so when you actually explained it, and when you showed your value as a buyer's agent, we actually saw commissions go up.
100%.
Right? So when you are actually there and you don't have to rely on what you're making by someone who's the listing agent, that's the co-broker that you've never met in your life probably, and is not with your firm, and now you're allowing somebody else give you the power of what you're going to make. And if you're taking that power back and you're showing your value of what you are worth and there's no ceiling, it's a moment of empowerment. But everyone else just heard the noise.
Yeah.
And if you don't sort of come in and truly be able to lead those that are around you, then it just becomes the noise and it becomes the chaos. And so when you're looking at things, I think people are just sort of saying, should I go left or right? And it was almost like the thing that we did in the last couple of days. I don't know. What's the road that's best for you based on what your circumstance is? And then you need to sort of like go through. My role is not to tell you what road to take. So my road is to actually say to you and understand where you come from, to understand where you want to go, and then be your GPS from there.
And the basic level of that before you can even pick a road is like, do you know your numbers? Like, do you know how many transactions you've done? Do you know where they come from, right? Because like a lot of what we've done these past couple of days with our goals, right? Whether it's our goals with agents and influence and transactions and price points, if we didn't know our numbers or where deals were coming from, you can't even start that. So like, it's so important from a practitioner level that as much as you love serving your clients, et cetera, like you also have to have just a certain standard of framework of where your business comes from. Like this thing, like your vehicle it needs to be intact.
Well, listen, if you want to even go there, because now you're going to hit something that's a real passion point for me. There's 85% of agents do not have a business plan.
No.
85%, right? And so then it's not just how many transactions did you make. It's sort of like, can you go deeper? What was your customer acquisition cost? Where did those customers come from? What's your best source of revenue on your marketing? What's your marketing ROI? People are probably listening to this and saying, what the hell is he just talking about?
Yeah.
Know your numbers doesn't mean how many transactions did I do and how much did I make in GCI.
Yep.
It means the backside of that. What does it cost me to run my business? It's your business, right? It's sort of like, it is, again, whether you're a single agent, run a team, run an independent brokerage, or with whatever, right? It is all, you run your own business.
Yeah.
And if you don't know your numbers,
Yeah.
you'll soon be out of business, because you're going to be sort of like saying, I have no idea what I spent last month in marketing. How do you not know that?
Yeah.
What was it? How many clients did you take out to dinner?
Yeah.
What is it what was the net effect of that?
You'll see the flip side too sometimes. You have some agents out there that borderline brag about not having a plan. Like, I just never use that stuff. I've just always been such a people person and great with folks. So it just comes, it's equivalent to athletes that are really talented that brag about not having to practice, not having to watch film because I just show up and I'm good. And it's like, hey, it's true, but that's going to hit a ceiling, right? And then you're going to be limited in your professional career. Now, in real estate, you don't ever have to be limited. No one's going to fire you. In sports, you either hit the college level, pro, and eventually you're just done, right? And they're done, and you're gone. In this space, you're not necessarily ever done unless you tap yourself out, but you're not going to see a certain level of professional growth.
Right.
And eventually, like if you're going to be 65 years old still pushing houses because you kept bragging about not needing something, it's like, but it goes back to like, hey, let's not brag about our transactions and everything else. Like, what do you want? Like, what is your life going to look like? Or are you just going to keep going through this cyclical thing and this is what people have to understand. If you don't have a business model and you don't know where your deals come from and what it costs to acquire those, what it costs to run your business, and you suck, it's very obvious you need a business plan and you need some help. It's the other one. It's when people are doing 20 transactions a year plus and they've never had a business plan. Like, I'm good. You're complacent. And like you're comfortable with that, and before you know it, you're going to be 20 years down the road, and you never became what you could have became.
It's not even 20 years. I mean, think about it. 3 years ago, nobody needed to do anything, right? Because
2% interest rates let a lot of like mediocre, subpar agents at best feel.
Yeah, no, but it was the whole market. It was COVID, right? You listed a property in the morning, and you had 6 offers by lunch.
Totally.
Right? That was the greatest disservice to our industry.
Yeah.
It was no different than the barista at Starbucks. And I've said that many times and people really get angry at me. But there's absolutely no difference of that realtor that just took a listing and had 6 offers.
Yep.
And he'll give you a reason why. I was in the market back then and I was still buying properties back then. And I would put in an offer and, in some of like my price point that I was going in, it was a very large number, right? And so I would never get a call back if I was one of the 6 that didn't get the house. And I'm thinking to myself, why wouldn't you go back to the other buyers that didn't get it, the other 5, and say, thank you for your offer. Sorry you missed out on this one, but can I help you find something else? Never happened in almost 2 years. Now, where are those agents?